Good morning, dear Dharma friends. It's another morning. Is it not strange how they just I keep walking out the back door and across the backyard, and it's another morning. Well, I am Robert Beatty, and I'm appearing to you magically from my backyard in eastern Beaverton, Oregon, right on the border with Multnomah County. This is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community, which has been growing really since 1979 when I started teaching in Portland. Back in 2004, we bought our beautiful building that we're not in right now. And with the beginning of COVID, we went online like this. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces. Quite remarkable. If you're new and would like more information about PIMC, go to portlandinsight.org. Tons of stuff there, including connections to all the other teachers and their classes and groups. I have a poem for us for the morning. It's a return to Mary Oliver. It may be wishful thinking because I have a rather full schedule today. Perhaps it's wishful thinking. Stillness. Today I'm flying low, and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must. The bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather, I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. Today I'm flying low and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes as it must. The bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather, I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. Mary Oliver. And where shall we take refuge? Right here. Right here in the present moment with this livingness. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya. Just realized I have to turn that on a little bit. So many switches. Namo, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. In all these mornings of singing that little song together, I've become very fond of the last chord, or actually the last note. It's so satisfying, that last note. It's not like I look forward to it the whole song, but I'm sure there's something in music theory about the completion of the chord. Well, let's sit for a little while. Let's go for stillness. And just so you don't need to worry about it, I'm not recording the Zoom sessions anymore. It is recorded to Facebook and YouTube. And I wind up just deleting.
You're muted, Robert.
Oh. Was I deleted through the whole song? Good. I don't know how that happened. Maybe the hand did something that mine didn't notice. Anyway, I was just noting that I'm not recording these in the morning anymore because they're recorded on Facebook and YouTube. It also means that any sharing that's done is at least a little more private. So let us land. Here and now. There are so many activities one could do with the mind. Thousands of things we could do right now. It's so interesting that the Buddha was so precise in describing skillful effort. The effort to restrain unwholesome states. The effort to rein in thoughts and actions rooted in greed, hatred, and ignorance. And once those thoughts and affects and behaviors are reined in, the effort to keep them reined in. And then the efforts that have to do with cultivation to bring into being wholesome states. States rooted in generosity, love, compassion, and wisdom. Central among them is mindfulness. Because mindfulness brings with it all the other wholesome mental states. Concentration, tranquility, equanimity, compassion, love, curiosity, joy, energy. And then once wholesome states are in blossom, to keep them going. So we are cultivating the garden of our own heart-mind. We are planting the seeds of happiness, of contentment, of living in harmony with our fellow beings. And so we sit comfortably upright, breathing in and breathing out. When mindfulness reveals the mind wandering off to somewhere, we come home. We're already home, actually, once the mind awakens to the wandering mind. And as I say every morning, each breath has a beginning. Which reflects every universe has a beginning. Every relationship has a beginning. Then there's a rising to fullness. And then the breath declines, diminishes, and vanishes. So we sit in the midst of the great truths. Home to the actual sensations of breathing. The present moment reveals itself. It appears through 6 doorways, 6 windows, portholes. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. And all the experiences that happen in the mind. The meditator inhabits this present moment. For stability, they, she, he, uses the breath for a home base. Bring great love and compassion to this moment and this breath. And notice how thoughts arise in the present moment. They arise and then vanish. Thoughts, memories, plans, everything. How intimate, how complete, how fully incarnated can you be with this breath right now? the thoughts, the emotions with which we usually identify. We say things like, I am angry, or I am sad, or I am happy. There's a radical shift of locus of identity. Instead of I am sad, we might hear ourselves say, there is sadness in the mind. There is restlessness and agitation. Or there is desire. There's obsession with desire, or there's disliking. The mind is striking against the objects that arise. Or we might notice there is sloth and torpor, difficult to stay conscious, falling unconscious. Or there is doubt, doubt the practice killer. Skeptical doubt. And we practice in a certain way, very simply, waking up. It's this. There is a whole body full of aliveness. It is aliveness. Notice the hands and fingers. The left leg, the left thigh. The toes of the right foot. Release any tension in the forehead and in the abdomen. If pleasure arises, don't hesitate to bask in the pleasure. Stay awake, recognize, this is pleasant. In general, when the mind goes quiet, it's like that Mary Oliver poem about being in the stillness while the world must go on. If discomfort arises, bask in the discomfort. Surrender, be real. What if it were possible to simply and truly let go of everything? What if it became apparent, irrefutable, that this isn't my body, your body, it's somebody. And it's like costuming. In order to function in the world, we have to have one. It exists in awareness. What about these thoughts, these random thoughts, these obsessive thoughts? Are they really personal? Or could we experience them like clouds in the sky? Sometimes on a hot, sunny day, you can see clouds forming. They come out of nowhere. They make interesting shapes and then they move on. And what about these emotions? Happy, sad, angry, loving. What if we just let them float in the mind's sky? And we get to land more and more fully in that which knows, that which is awake, the Buddha. The very impulse to return to the breath noticed as another small tension. As you relax more and more into that which knows. There are sounds inside you. Including this breath, this voice. Noticing any tension in the face and the forehead. Stillness. The stillness in which thinking happens. Hearing, smelling, tasting, remembering. Today I'm flying low. I'm not saying a word. I'm letting the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes as it must. The bees in the garden rumbling a little. The fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather, I hardly move, though I'm really traveling a terrific distance. Stillness. One of the doors into the temple. Sitting right here at the middle of everything. Nothing to attach to and nothing to resist. And please now, engage that capacity to somehow direct awareness. Direct it toward that place in the universe you think of as your face. The lips, the cheeks, the eyes. Notice the aliveness that is the eyes, and then notice the formation of an intention, the root of karmic activity, an intention to open the eyes, and then making the effort. Strange how heavy the eyelids can seem. It does take effort to let the eyelids open. Most mornings I've been finishing with an unintentional loving kindness practice. This morning, it's a different flavor. Isn't it the same thing to be in metta as it is to be perceiving everyone as inside you? Where does this screen, where does the experience of seeing into these windows into our lives. Where does that occur? It happens in awareness. There really is no separation. I'm so profoundly grateful for our time together in the mornings. I really love the ritual of opening the back door, feeling the cool air, walking across the yard, getting my proper key out before I leave the light because it's hard to find. Then I stand on that little 2 stones, they're not so little, they're pretty big stones that are the doorway, the step. And I reflect about where I'm going, which is the Dharma hall. Take a breath or two, and then I open the door and come in and turn on the light, and the dogs struggle for which one will be in which bed. And then I push a few buttons, and then here we are in the Dharma hall. It's quite lovely. So I have only one announcement I want to mention, which is that Mary, lovely Mary Stankavich, is doing a little retreat the week from this Saturday. And she has a strong history in recovery and a strong history in waking up. So I highly recommend that you take a peek at that and give yourself some hours to practice with a beautiful human being. So, Stephanie, I just discovered you're there. Hello. I've missed you and the boys. Nice to see you. I think your hair's different too. Cool. So, friends, Jim, is there some announcement I have forgotten that I should remember?
Well, on Monday night, I was going to do a little preview on the paramis that Ms. Stankevich is going to be. She's going to spend hours. I'll spend a few minutes on it.
So that's Rumi's Guest House with Jim on Monday night.
Guest House on Monday, and Barry on Tuesday, and Gregory on Wednesday, and Doug on Thursday. It's a full week, and then Fridays is the 11:30 session with Doyle and Kate tonight. And I don't think the Candle's on this week. I think she's on a week from Sunday. It's a full week.
So, dear friends, is there something in your heart that wants to be spoken?
Hey, Robert, it's Janet.
Hello, Janet. Good morning.
I'm sort of hesitant to say this is in my heart and wants to be spoken, but it's a question. I know I can listen to you, your recordings on YouTube. I don't use Facebook, and I know I can get Gregory Maloof's on, well, he just switched from Podbean or something to something else, but how about everybody else? Like Gary and Kate and other people? Is it possible to hear them after they have
Gary's
their...
on. The evil doorway of Facebook is where Gary is.
Ooh,
Doyle's are also on Facebook.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We need to. There's so many need tos, but we've kind of cobbled all this together, and we haven't had a coherent strategy of how to create. Here's the PIMC teachers, and here's where it's saved, and so that's on our agenda.
All right. Thank you.
They're a wild bunch.
Good morning, Robert and Jim and Songa. This is Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Nice to see everybody. I am reluctant to bring this up, but I have been really struggling. I don't want to be a downer on a Friday, but I have been really struggling with, in my opinion, anybody who's paying attention and is not in denial or heavy delusion has to realize that we are at the risk of becoming a dictatorship in the United States. And there's a very real possibility that could happen. So, we have an injunction to wish all beings well. However, there's one being, very prominent being, often described as orange in color, that his wellness has created a lot of death, either by intention or unintentional, and will create a lot of suffering. So the question is, how do we wish somebody well when that somebody is going to create a lot of suffering? Already has. And in my opinion, will create even more suffering if they are reelected. So I'm really struggling with that right now. We're down to the wire, so to speak, right? 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks left. I'll take my answer off the air.
No, why don't you stick around? That's funny. I tend to take a very selfish view, which is, how do I want to feel? What do I want to cultivate in myself? And we could use this person as an object of hate and cultivate hatred. We could use this same person as an object of fear and cultivate fear. On the other hand, we could remember that we are not separate from this person, which is a total different tuning, and wish him well. And wish that tortured little boy that's in him that creates this narcissistic, delusional character, this costuming, to wish that boy safety and care and so on, while at the same time doing everything in our power to be sure he doesn't get reelected. But the attitude with which we go to it could be freaked out, angry, hateful, or loving, compassionate, and really competent. really clear. Do I think best? Do I strategize best in battle when I'm angry and reactive? Or am I in the present moment and I see the incoming blow and can fend it off? Where am I the most effective in following my values? And I understand. Ooh. One of the dogs just shook things up. I understand the reactivity and the impulse toward hatred. It's very frightening. And you're right, it could go either way. And that's astounding, isn't it? And also, this election isn't the end of the struggle, because if so many people are willing to follow that kind of leadership, they're not going to go away suddenly. And the world is going to become a more and more difficult place as the planet warms. There will be many failed states, and there will be waves of desperate migrants, and we're headed into very challenging times. So we have a perfect time to practice how to be loving and compassionate in the face of great difficulty. What do you think of that, Peter?
Thank you, Robert. What really resonated with me, which I'm going to work on becoming more skilled at, is I'm not really skilled at wishing well to the Orange Duce. However, I love the part about how can I be most effective.
Yeah.
That really is powerful. And I'm going to write that down. I'm going to post it as I'm doing my phone banking for the next 3 weeks. So thank you so much for that.
I have a student, a dear Dharma friend, who used to commute between here and Washington, D.C. 4 or 5 years ago. And this student was in direct confrontation with opposing and rather, I would say, hate-filled representatives of values that don't parallel mine. And she was really torn up by the battles. Being in meetings with so much anger and animosity and very high level stuff. And we worked a lot on how to stay loving, how to keep her heart open. And she discovered that she was much more effective when she could see the opponent with compassion and realize, like Marshall Rosenberg said, I have, how do you say it? Basically, he said, of course I can love everyone in Washington. Some of them just have some very destructive and horrible ideas, which we need to help them change. But the persons, anyway, and it was really instructive to me that I guess it really is. If we go to the martial arts model, to be really centered and alive and conscious and loving, but at the same time, if I need to, I'm willing to take you down. And I'll do it with as little rancor as possible. So,
yeah,
thanks for the question.
That reminds me of the Ram Dass quote, which I heard in first 85, and I've been, it's very aspirational. do what you do with another human being, but never put them out of your heart.
Yeah.
That is so powerful and so tough to do sometimes. But I view it as an aspiration. I will definitely take the
Well,
your points in.
this is bodhisattva training. Why would it not be extraordinarily difficult? Thanks, Peter. A very important question for us all, I think.
Jim,
I think I hear Tim.
it's me.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Do you ever leave that spot you're sitting in? Or are you always there?
I'm pretty much always here. I go to the bathroom once in a while. That reminds me what you were saying, Peter, and what you said, Robert, reminds me of a quote from Che Guevara when he was down in the jungle in Bolivia or wherever he was. And some journalists went down with founding an interview. And Che Guevara said, "It might surprise you to know that my motivation for this is love. My motivation for what I do is love." That's a beautiful thing.
It just turned 8 o'clock, and we often go till 8:15, and I'm going to, if I can, I'm going to play a 9-minute YouTube video of Joanna Macy. Let's see if I can pull this off here. Yeah, there it is. So, how do I do this? Some of you may need to go, and that's okay, of course. But if you can stay, I think you may find this very encouraging. I heard her tell this very story live when she was here in Portland last. So share screen. Optimize screen share.
I'd like to tell you a prophecy from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. It's called The Coming of the Kingdom of Shambhala, and it is 12 centuries old. This is a particular version of the prophecy embedded in the Kalachakra Tantra. And it was given to me by my dear friend, Dharma brother, Dugu Chogyal Rinpoche of the community of Tashi Chon in India. When I heard it, I realized that the term Shambhala warrior is a metaphor for what in Buddhism is understood to be the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva is the hero in the Buddhist tradition. And because the core teaching of the Lord Buddha is the radical inter-existence of all things, if one person has the capacity to be a Bodhisattva, then others do too. So let me tell you this prophecy. I'm going to aim it at the Bodhisattva inside you. Listen to it as if it were about you, as if you realized it were about you. And I'm giving it to you pretty much in the language I received it from Dugu Chogyal Rinpoche. There comes a time when all life on earth is in danger. At that time, great powers have arisen, barbarian powers. And although they waste their wealth in preparations to annihilate each other, they have much in common. And among the things these powers, these barbarian powers, have in common are weapons of unfathomable devastation and death, and technologies that lay waste the world. And it is just at this point in our history when the future of all beings seems to hang by the frailest of threads that the kingdom of Shambhala emerges. Now you can't go there because it is not a place. It exists in the hearts and minds of the Shambhala warriors. And actually, you can't tell a Shambhala warrior by looking at her or him, because they wear no uniforms, no insignia, they wield no banners, they have no barricades upon which to climb to threaten the enemy or behind which they can rest and regroup. They don't even have any home turf. The Shambhala warriors have only the terrain of the barbarian powers to move across, to act upon. Now the time is coming, Dugu Chogyal Rinpoche said to me, when great courage is required of the Shambhala warriors. Moral courage and physical courage. And that's because they are going to go right into the heart of the barbarian powers to dismantle their weapons. They are going to go into the pits and citadels where the weapons are made and deployed. They're going to go into the corridors of power where the decisions are made to dismantle the weapons in every sense of the word. Now mark this, said Chuja Rinpoche to me, the Shambhala warriors know that these weapons can be dismantled because they are manomaya. That means mind-made. Made by the human mind, they can be unmade by the human mind. Because the dangers that face us are not brought upon us by some satanic deity or some evil extraterrestrial force or some unchangeable preordained fate. They arise out of our relationships and habits, out of our priorities. They are made by the human mind. They can be unmade by the human mind. So, he said, now is the time the Shambhala warriors go into training. How do they train? I asked. They train in the use of 2 implements, he said. Actually used the word weapons. What are they? I asked. And he held up his hands the way the dancers hold the ritual objects in the great Lama dances of his people. And he said, one is compassion, and the other is insight into the radical interdependence of all phenomena. And you need both, he said. You need the compassion because that provides the fuel to move you out where you need to be, to do what you need to do. It means not being afraid of the suffering of your world. And when you're not afraid to be with that pain, then nothing can stop you. You can be and do what you're meant to. But by itself, he said, that implement is very hot. It can burn you out. So you need the other. That other tool, the insight into the radical interconnectivity at the heart of existence. The web of life. Our deep ecology. When you have that, you know, he said, when you understand that, then you know that this is not a battle between good guys and bad guys. You know that the line between good and evil runs through the landscape of every human heart. And you know that we are so interwoven in the web of life that even the smallest act with clear intention has repercussions through the whole web, beyond your capacity to see. But that's kind of cool, he said. It's maybe even a little abstract. So you need the heat of the compassion. That's the prophecy. And if you've seen Tibetan monks doing chanting with the hands, gestures, the mudras, moving, likely as not, they are dancing the interplay between compassion and wisdom, which is there for each one of us to embody now in our own way.
When school isn't a place you have to
Let
be,
me get rid of that.
why not go to school where remote learning can be as remote as you want? Like a Verbo.
Next up is Scout.
Come
Hey,
on.
I'm here. So
Joanna Macy. We are all the Shambhala warrior. So easy to forget and think our personal neurotic issues and struggles are what's really important. There's lots more about Joanna's teachings online, books. So I think it's time to go. Thanks for visiting this morning, coming to our training center for our warriorness.
If you save the chat, you can save a link to that video.
And if you lose that, just go online on YouTube and type in Joanna Macy, and Joanna Macy will do it, but Shambhala Warrior will pop it up too. Thanks, Jim. Well, let's sing our way out of here. Stephanie, are we ready? At your end? I invite you to unmute yourselves if you wish. And we'll be... Now let's use our finest, most refined voices this morning. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Francine, did you hear that little bit of Zydeco? It wasn't my favorite.
No, I was a few minutes late this morning.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll rewind it and
I couldn't find my really good one. All right. Happy trails, folks. Have a lovely day. Be safe.
thanks for the treat.
See you Monday or Sunday if you come on Sunday. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Beautiful you.
Bye.
I'm a little clingy. It's nice to be with you.
Us.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for participating.